JavaScript arrays. An array is really just a container with subcontainers, and it's the next piece of the puzzle that we need to talk about in terms of JavaScript. We talked about variables, and an array is just another type of variable, but instead of holding one piece of data, it can hold multiple pieces of data. Think of it like a pillbox. Perhaps you or a friend or a relative has to take medications each day, and perhaps they have a box that looks like the image here on your screen, where you have different containers that are going to hold different things, different pills for the week. And frequently in JavaScript, we have to deal with groups of things. And if we go back to our robot analogy, if we're teaching our robot how to wash the dishes, perhaps glasses need to be handled in a certain way, or perhaps plates need to be handled in a certain way. And then when it comes to working with the silverware, we've got the silverware needs to be handled in a certain kind of way, but then we've got a subgroup of spoons and knives and forks and maybe other pieces of silverware. So that's a group within a group. And arrays are the analogy that works best for that, is thinking about groups of things with arrays. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So in JavaScript, we can create a new array in a couple of different ways. We can use the new keyword with array and parentheses as shown here, or we can create it more explicitly using the square brackets as shown below on the right here. So let's actually do this over in the console, because I think it's helpful to actually see us create these elements. So I'm going to come over here and make a new tab and choose inspect, right click and choose inspect. And then I'm going to click on the console here, clear out this error. I don't need that stuff. But then I'm going to make an array var. I'm going to call it colors1 equals new array. And then in here, in quotes, I'm going to put some colors: red, comma, green, comma, blue. Now I've created that array. And I can access those colors by typing colors1 square bracket 0 end square bracket, and that will get me the first color in that array. That'll get me the red. Or I could make an array more explicitly, and this is the more common way that you'll see it done, is var colors2 equals square bracket, and then quote, yellow, quote, orange, quote, purple, square bracket, semicolon. So now I've created a second array, and I could do colors 2 square bracket 2. And that will get me the third element in the array. Now, square bracket 2 gets me the third element. That's weird. Arrays are 0 indexed. So this is element 0, this is element 1, and this is element 2. This is element 0, element 1, element 2. But the length of the array is 3. Colors 2.length. That will give me a 3. Because there are 3 elements in the array, it's just they're numbered 0, 1, and 2. And that takes a little getting used to with programming in general and in JavaScript in particular. But it's frequently the way it works in different programming languages, where when you have an array, the first element is element 0, and then a 1, and then a 2. Normally, we start counting with 1 first, 1, 2, 3. But in programming, we frequently start counting with 0 first, 0, 1, 2. But the length of the array is 3. So that's an important distinction and something to be aware of. Unlike a pillbox, which really can't hold much more than just pills, you can put anything into an array in JavaScript. You can even put an array in an array. So you can think about a pillbox with a subcontainer with even smaller divisions in it. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to switch back over to my tab here. And I'm going to clear out this tab by clicking the clear button there. And I'm just going to paste this in, but you might want to type it. You could, it's a little bit hard to type and get right, but it's worth trying if you can. But I'm going to paste this vehicles array in here. And now if I want to access an element from this array, I could do vehicles square bracket 1. That's going to go and get the line that starts with which element. There we go. And then, so it's going to get me this, because this is 0, and now this is 1, right? So that's going to get me that into that subarray. You can see it's sort of showing up down there. And then if I do square bracket 2, that's going to get me the explorer element in that subarray. So you can do things like that with arrays. That's kind of complicated, and you're not probably going to be doing arrays inside of arrays to start off with, but it's an important thing to understand about arrays is they're very flexible tools that you can use to hold groups of data, and that's very useful. Another thing that's interesting is that a regular variable holding a string can be treated like an array in JavaScript. So if I make a variable var joke equals the chicken crossed the road. Now I've got a variable called joke, but I can actually treat it like an array. I could do joke square bracket 4, and that's going to get me the C in chicken, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to get me that C in chicken. Or I could do joke.length, and it'll tell me that there are 28 characters in that string. So that's kind of an interesting thing to understand about arrays as well. Let's do a little bit of practice with arrays. So I can make a new variable, var animals, and assign it an array. Cat, dog, chicken, and all of those animals will be in the array. So if I just do animals, you'll see that I get back an array with 3 elements, cat, dog, and chicken. Now, arrays come with certain array methods that you can do to arrays specifically. So if I do animals dot push llama, now there are 4 elements in the animals array. The cat, the dog, the chicken, and the llama are all in the array. Remember, we can use the console log method. We don't really need to here in the console, but we will when we go to using files shortly. So it's worth remembering that we can do console.log parentheses, that's a parenthesis, animals, square bracket, 1 or 2. Let's do 2 since I put a 2 in there, square bracket, and then the parenthesis. Console log animals square bracket 2, and then if I press return there, it'll give me the chicken. I don't really need to use the console log method here in the console, but you can, and it's worth remembering that you can do that. Now, what if I wanted to remove an element from the array? Well, we could do animals.splice 1, 1. And that will take the dog out of the array. So now if I do animals, you can see it's got the cat, the chicken, and the llama, but not the dog. And I could do push and push the dog back into the array. Let's do that. Animals.push dog. And now the dog is back in the array. Another array method is sort. Animals.sort. And notice now that the order of the animals in the array has changed slightly so that the dog is in the 3rd position based on alphabetical order. So there are a lot of array methods that you can use, and a really good place to go look at them would be the W3 Schools website or the MDN. JavaScript arrays. And here it is here. And then they'll have array methods here. And there are all kinds of examples of array methods that you can use. You can join, we can do all kinds of things. And it's worth exploring some of the different methods and trying them out on your own with just messing around with arrays and just working in the console and getting used to how this works, because that's a really great way of learning sort of the basics of JavaScript. Here's a challenge for you. We have an array for animals here, and we can see that the length of the array is 4, but you could also find out by doing animals.length, and you'll get 4. Now, what if you didn't know how long the array was? How could you always get the last element in the array? What would be the code that I could type in here that would always give me the final element in the array, no matter how long it is? See if you can figure that out. Pause the video and see if you can type in the code that gets that. And then when you're done, you can unpause and I'll show you how I did it. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and you tried to do that. So here's what I would do. I would do animals and then square bracket, and then I want to get the length, animals.length, but I need to subtract 1 because the length of the array is 4, but actually the last element is element number 3. And you'll see that that will in fact get me the llama at the very end. So I'm going into my animals array, and what I'm passing in is animals.length, which will be a 4, minus 1, which gets me this element here, 0, 1, 2, 3. And that may seem a little counterintuitive to begin with, but you'll get used to working with arrays and with the lengths of arrays and with different ways of getting elements out of arrays.